I'm with Najam Sethi, and we are live from Lahore in Pakistan. Mr. Sethi is the editor of the Friday Times, which comes out in Lahore, but he's also one of Pakistan's most astute political observers and commentators. And today, of course, we're discussing the very fast-moving events in Pakistan. The Pakistan Prime Minister, Imran Khan, has dissolved all the state assemblies in Pakistan. The no confidence motion that the Pakistani opposition had moved against the Imran Khan government has been annulled, if you like. But before I get ahead of myself, let me welcome Mr. Sethi to ThePrint. Mr. Sethi, thank you so much for your time, and to welcome all the viewers of ThePrint. We are live from Lahore in Pakistan, and Mr. Sethi is going to describe the not just the events, but what this means for the future of Pakistan. Mr. Sethi, your first comments.
Yes, well, I'm not surprised, I'm shocked. We thought that he would try and pull some sort of rabbit out of the hat to avoid the vote of no confidence. But he's actually gone overboard. What he's done is completely unconstitutional, and there will be serious repercussions. So what has he done? He's invoked Article 5 of the Constitution, which is of two parts. Part one says that every citizen shall be loyal to the state of Pakistan. And the second one is, of course, that the Constitution is inviolable. And the third part of that section Article 6, is that anyone who violates the Constitution, it'll be considered high treason. So now he's used the first part of the Constitution to say to the Speaker that there is a conspiracy against Pakistan, and under the circumstances, your loyalty is to the state, and therefore this vote of no confidence should be rejected. And the Speaker, in whose name the Deputy Speaker took the decision to reject the vote of no confidence, in fact, it can't be held, said so in the name of the Speaker, who's not present, who wasn't present in the assembly. So the order has been issued in the name of a Speaker who wasn't there. And then the Deputy Speaker walked out and prorogued the session indefinitely. Following which, as the opposition sat there in a state of shock and disbelief, because all this is unconstitutional. And Imran Khan went on television live for a couple of to say that he has saved Pakistan. There was this foreign conspiracy, but he wants to go back to the people. And he's advised the president of Pakistan to dissolve the assembly and order fresh elections. What happens next, he's not himself clear about. He says whatever will happen after that will be whatever. And that too is unconstitutional. There's no clause that allows him to do anything like this. In fact, he has no say about what happens in the other provincial assemblies and so on. So it took the opposition a while to to come to terms with what he's done. And then they had two options. The first option was to protest, which they did, then to actually seize the podium, appoint their own speaker, carry out the vote of no confidence, elect their own prime minister, and say to hell with you. But that would have led to a situation of conflict, because then, on the one hand, what he's done is unconstitutional, and what they would have done would have been also unconstitutional. There's no provision for anything like this. And then that would have led to a state where the army would have had to intervene. And the fear was that this is exactly what Imran Khan wanted. He wanted the opposition to do something like this in a state of rage. And then, of course, there would have been no option but for the army to intervene and impose martial law. And he would have taken it from there. He said many times, or implied it in any case, that he would rather burn the house down than give up power. Opposition has now responded by saying that all this is unconstitutional. There is a consensus in the media too, and in civil society. And he's asked the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to take what is known as suo motu action, meaning he can, off his own bat under a particular constitutional clause, in the public interest, pick up a situation and try and solve it. And they're asking him now to do that. And I'm sure that in the event that he doesn't do that in the next 24 hours, the Chief Justice asking for a resolution of this constitutional crisis. Now, how long that will take and what the Chief Justice then decides is another matter. But Pakistan right now is in the throes of possibly its worst ever constitutional crisis. And the interesting thing is the army is not interested in imposing martial law. They would rather that this matter be resolved constitutionally amongst the politicians. But Imran Khan and his supporters have been flouting placards and posters across Pakistan saying it's either PTI or martial law, and we will not accept the opposition parties in power. So it's a pretty bad situation out here, very uncertain about what happens next.
So, Mr. Sethi, the line isn't very good from Lahore. You know, the line has been dropping actually, so it's not very clear. But what I can make out is that what you just said is that the Pakistan Prime Minister, or the outgoing Prime Minister, shall we say, or we don't know yet whether he's the outgoing Prime Minister or not, but he would rather burn the house down. So it turns out that he's a sore loser.
That's putting it mildly. His supporters are also very aggressive. He's lost all his support. He has 140 odd votes now left as opposed to over 200 with the opposition. So this was a foregone conclusion that the vote of no confidence would succeed. And he's thwarted it all by actually proroguing the assembly and throwing the ball in the president's court, who has no power to do anything of the sort that he's asking him to do. So we really have a constitutional deadlock here.
So what happens now, just to explain this to all our viewers, the opposition will now go to the Supreme Court, and they will challenge this ruling by the Deputy Speaker, who has made this ruling in the name of the Speaker?
Yes, they are expecting the Supreme Court to take this matter on its own, and if it doesn't do that, they will set a bench to hear the arguments, and then we'll have to give a judgment in terms of what unconstitutional acts have been committed. Now, here's the shall we say, the googly that he's thrown into this game. He's actually sought a dissolution of the assemblies and a call for fresh elections. Now, under when the Constitution says that when there is a vote of no confidence in play, and the Prime Minister thinks he can't win it, he may wish to dissolve the assemblies and call for fresh elections, but he can't. He can't do so. He's prohibited from doing so. He can do so before a vote is launched. But once it's launched, he has no choice but to fight it out, win or lose. Now, what he's done is that there was some talk that he was banking on some, he was hoping that he would have the numbers to defeat this vote of no confidence. But when he saw that that didn't happen, he tried this foreign conspiracy theory. And that is what he's now clutching at. And pressure on the military establishment, and is used and very clear. I mean, Imran Khan is accusing the United States of army chief 2 days ago, came out front foot and basically at a national security seminar in Islamabad, clearly said that Pakistan desires friendship with the United States. It is its largest aid and trade partner, and Pakistan wants good relations with everyone. The opposite position to what Imran has taken about the United States conspiring against Pakistan.
So what does this mean?
So now it's quite clear where things stand. The Supreme Court now, I think the army will continue to stay out of reckoning, and they will expect the Supreme Court to deliver a judgment. Once the Supreme Court delivers a judgment against Imran Khan, then there is nothing Imran Khan can do, because the Supreme Court can then ask the army under the Constitution to implement its decision, in which case Imran has nowhere to go. But I think that is going to be the next stage, that the Supreme Court will do this. Imran's calculation is that his people will go before the Supreme Court and argue and say, what's the big deal? We are going back to the people. Why do you want to create difficulties now? Allow the elections to go ahead, and then they can take it up and let the people decide. And so that's the political googly that he's thrown into this equation. The opposition has said we want fresh elections. That's what they've been saying. Okay, so I have now created a situation where I'm asking for fresh elections. And now the trick here is that if he asks for fresh elections, he then has a say to conduct the elections. And that gives him leverage for another 2-3 months as somebody who will then determine who will sit in the interim government. So he can delay matters there as well.
You know, Mr. Sethi, the line is really quite bad. So I'm actually going to disconnect this video if you don't mind, because it's, you know, your voice is coming and going. But I'm going to, I think, reconnect with you. But let's just disconnect this right now, and I shall reconnect in a minute or so. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what's the matter.